For sure.
Warren, just kind of progress update on your end, and see how things go. Then I have a couple questions of my own. So I don't really have like an agenda for the call. So
Yeah. No, definitely. For sure. So so the main things are that we're powering up the domain overall, so we can see the the rankings go up organically and getting more traffic coming in. And we're in that stage basically where we're just seeing that overall across the board. Even for some of the existing blogs that we had from before, those are starting to rank better and getting more traffic to come in. So that's one of the main things. I would say one of the biggest wins that has been taking place. Here, let's look at some stuff visually. If you want to go to, are you in front of a computer?
Yeah, I'm on my computer.
Oh, okay, all right. Cool. So let's quickly jump on a screen share so I can just kind of show you a little bit, few things real quick. If you go to if you go to join.me/roofing SEO.
It's loading.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see what you're doing.
All right, so what I'm pulling up is since one of our earlier talks, we were mentioning that we were going to get some more relevancy that we can get rather quickly in some of the nearby smaller neighborhoods using our map listing. Now, these areas we don't have, we don't have a registered address in those areas, but we just popped in in the first page for this location right here, Ellettsville. Again, it's a small town, but it gives us an idea of how we're reacting, how our Google listing is responding to some of the links that are being built, and if we're being able to get it to show up and have more control over some of the outskirts that is within its radius. Right? So that's one of the things that I wanted to point out real quick, that it is taking effect in that way for a couple other cities nearby. It's not per se that we're trying to get to the top position for for these kind of little areas. Would be great if it happens, but it's more for us to make sure that everything's still responsive. But sometimes if you're getting blocked by certain some kind of like filtration, which can happen, then you could be doing a campaign for a while and then you'd realize that it's not really taking effect. So it's a quick way to realize things are still good before we start showing up for the main city in Bloomington. Right.
Now, a question about the sites that you did on top of the website. Is Google going to punish us because that's all basically copy content over like many pages?
No. Which ones are you saying, for example?
I don't know the specific links, but I noticed that there had been a bunch of pages built around like for the various like little cities around Bloomington.
Right.
And I went through and was reading them, and all of it's basically copied content. So it's original content, but it's copied content minus the city. So I know that from an SEO standpoint, from a like Google penalizes copied content.
Right. No, for local, it's not a factor for duplicate content like that. If you look at even the largest sites like HomeAdvisor, right? Like they have all the same kind of content. Obviously, the listings are different itself, but the way they put the content together, it's all the same. Because when it comes to local, they don't follow the same rules. Even for like like sites that we track, like an example would be like Precision Mold Removal. This is a site that we worked on together with in the community with a couple other SEOs, and you'll see that it's mostly duplicate content within the site. And this site ranks for Los Angeles, Jacksonville, like huge terms and cities. So when it comes to local, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not even a factor for duplicate content in that when you make separate pages like that. Google understands that there's only so many ways you can say that, hey, we do roofing, hey, we do repairs.
Sure. Yeah, very true.
Right, but that's a good question. So the types of backend links that we have been building, right? These are like, you could say they're more power-based links, not like the most, you could say like written in the most highest quality, or like it's not really meant for the eyes of a homeowner, but it's more to like link out and build power and establish credibility between our secondary platforms, right? We don't send these links directly to our website, but much more highly authoritative sites such as Twitter for us. These one right here, for example, like we're sending these to the Foursquare for our listing, etc., etc. So these are some of the links, types of things that we've been using to power it up. And overall, the thing we're making sure, other than a few little quick stuff such as the maps I show you, is traffic. Are we getting more increase for terms that we're already going for on the site? Overall, is Google starting to rank us higher for it? So if you look in SEMrush, you'll see that we were getting about 40, 41 people, 30 people per month, and then recently there's a pretty significant jump in traffic that happened. And honestly, it's pretty early still to see this kind of traffic, so we are ahead in that note, you could say. Generally, we see 20-30% increase by the third, fourth month coming in. But there was some stuff that was kind of like under ranking, so it was quite easy to push some power into those pages and build relevancy and credibility rather quickly and get this kind of traffic increase.
Now it is our busy season right now, so I don't know if that I'm sure that some of that is also because of that. And I guess my biggest concern has been we've dropped significantly on the maps, and I guess before with our previous SEO company we were ranking in the top 3 for roofing, Bloomington, IN, and Bloomington, Indiana. So I was curious about if you could kind of talk to that, or if you've noticed that that we've dropped to number 10, I believe, number 10 or 11 for both of those keywords, and then it looks like our domain authority ranking has dropped. So I didn't know if you had to decide here, because you talked about trying to build up our domain authority.
Yeah, we're building up the trust flow and the citation flow right off the domain. Where are you seeing the domain authority went down?
On DIB, DIIB, it just tracks various things. Right now it's telling me it's 0. So I used to be subscribed to another one, but I was only on their 60-day free trial, so I can't actually see, and I don't have Ahrefs.
Right.
Someone called AdZoom.
I would follow either Ahrefs or Majestic is also good for citation flow and stuff, but Ahrefs is overall pretty accurate. I would say Ahrefs would be one of the most accurate ones when it comes to metrics. Now they weigh it a little bit differently than other platforms. They all have their own way, but if domain authority is 20, your domain is not a 0. That's for sure. So yeah.
Okay, that's good, because I was that would be bad.
Yeah, no, for sure. That would definitely look concerning then. Yeah, so that's the first thing. The second thing is with the maps is, so you're saying from your location when you search it dropped.
Yeah, we dropped significantly, and then we've been dropping too on the on organic. mean, the good news is we're still cycling at the top for guarantee. But yeah, in terms of the maps, I did a search right before you called, and I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're at number 11 for Bloomington Roofing Iron, and then for Indiana, our number for roofing Bloomington, Indiana.
Roofing, Bloomington, yeah, roofing contract, Bloomington, let me see.
No, just roofing Bloomington, Indiana, not roofing contracting Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay, so
The
let's
roofing
check it.
Bloomington IN and the roofing Bloomington, Indiana have been the two biggest keywords that we've always ranked on. And I guess too, like, you know, in that video, like, I mean, thank you for producing that video the last month. My question is, you said about 4 to 6 months plan, but it's like, you know, when you guys came on, we weren't in that bad of shape. I
Yeah.
mean, we already had somebody who was doing SEO. We were already producing good results. So I'm curious. You know, I get that certain things take a while to be implemented, but it was curious to me that you were like you pushed out those types of time frames when we weren't really starting from scratch like that. That made it seem like, you know, hey, this is like from scratch numbers, you know, sort of thing. Not like you already have established SEO, you already have established backlinks, you already have established presence.
Right. No, I mean, the reason why we say those kind of time frames is because a lot of times, until we get into it, we don't really know what kind of links was being done. And sometimes we even have to disavow pre-existing links for us to do it the way, you know, we see fit. So sometimes it's, especially when it comes to link building, it takes a while. I mean, even compared to like 2 years ago, you know, they elongated the time frame in Google's algorithm, right? It usually before we used to see, like, you know, you build a link today, it'll take maybe like 6 weeks, 8 weeks for it to take effect. Now sometimes it doesn't take effect for like 3 months, 4 months. So the way we say those timeframes is really built from like given what could go wrong in the back end, so that if we had to do, you know, extensive fixing or something like that, it would still give enough time for us to see the effect from the new links that we were building. So yeah, just to give you that. But that being said, yeah, we weren't like, you know, it's not like we were nowhere to be seen, and then we're trying to get to the top. We're already, you know, in the first page in the maps. We just want to rank more better in the, you know, in the top 3 across several of the main terms. So yeah, I mean, it's. I'm just trying to see which terms you drop for, because I want to keep in mind that from your location it's showing a drop. By this time, usually we don't like see any gains yet in the maps, because again, we're like doing certain things in the back end with you know, making sure you know, for the first one, for example, we clean up the technical, and then like we go into like you know, making sure like certain parts of the domain authority and things are clean and all that kind of stuff. And now we're really gonna start getting into the maps. You know, other than some quick things we did with like the geo links. Nothing has been, you know, extensive done for the maps yet. So that's now we're starting to get into it. We're at that time point. So I just wanted to see like why you would drop, because normally we would see that, you know, you're just kind of like in the same place. So the only thing I can think of is some of the competitors are taking things more seriously, because there's nothing that should have caused you to drop in rankings. It should be more like, you know, you're in the same place. But what we would like to see is that, you know, the next wave now coming over the next you know, a couple months, that this is where we really want to see across the board and keep a tab on all the main keywords and how we start to show up in the maps, and we're looking to see increases in that.
Now, in terms of click-through rate and building relevancy for the website, you know, what is your recommendation on the previous guy wanted me to stop doing traffic to the website from. But when I was sending traffic to the website, we were getting people who were sitting on the website, or, you know, and filling out the contact form, or even calling. But one issue we were having was
when you say sending traffic from Facebook, are you running ads or?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
That's primarily what I use is ads on Facebook. I was running a handful of them, traffic to our website. Now I drive it to a secondary website that basically is a landing page where they fill out a form. But I've kind of halted that for the time being. And I'd like to start sending it to the website again. I think
So what I would say is, and it's a really good question because something that I used to have a different opinion on, even like as early as like a year ago, because originally we're SEO, so I'm biased towards like SEO. So anything that will help the SEO, I'm like, yeah, send traffic, so it helps us, But what we realize now is that we treat every avenue very different and just go by conversions, right? I mean, it sounds basic once you come to the point, but for example, for Facebook, you should just send it to a landing page and monitor it very closely of the numbers of conversions, and not to get too into like cost per lead and cost per impression and all these other metrics, which we used to like scratch our heads over a lot. Nowadays, if we were to do anything with Facebook, we're just looking at overall cost of leads ran on a week-to-week basis, not day-to-day, but week-to-week basis. How much was like leads? How much was spent on Facebook leads, and then like on your CRM to check how many appointments were ran. These are the only two things we check, right? Because sometimes you can get leads for very cheap. Like on Facebook, if you run a certain type of campaign where you're like, hey, forget about big, roof replacements. We have a new product with like a roof coating, and this is like fraction of the cost. See if you qualify. You'll get like hundreds of leads. But if you try to get a sales guy to try to convert that, it's like pulling tooth. Like it's going to be really difficult. They're not going to be able to convert the leads unless they're like trained just for doing that angle. And yeah, the conversion is going to be really bad. But then if you look at the dashboard, you're like, hey, but it looks like we're getting so many leads. So that's just an extreme example, but a lot of people still do it. They would run a pretty, normal campaign and say like, hey, we're the best, or like something like, see if you qualify. But then when you cross-check it with like how many appointments were ran, it's like horrible. But if you were to run it and the leads are, nowadays we see leads are costing quite a bit. But they're quality, right? They would be costing $15, $20 per lead. But then, you're
on average 20 to 30.
Yeah. For example, then in that range, we're seeing way better results. We're actually running appointments. These are people who at least, considered that they have something wrong with their roof. And if there's anything else I would say is we've seen significant differences when we went actually completely offline, meaning like we basically built out a list of homeowners in the exact homeowners who are in our areas that are, that they can afford the roof, and then also we have information on if they can pass financing. So this list was built, and it was not easy, but like basically, if you guys can put something like that together, you'd see day and night results in terms of like revenue generated from Facebook ads, because you're going to be able to literally target people who are not only depending on how many factors you want to use. We even added a layer of like homes that were done about 15, 20 years ago, and they're in an affluent area, and their average income is pretty good, and they can even pass financing. And the last piece of information is pretty hard to get, but if you were to build lists of that kind and then even run pretty normal ads, you'd see it's like an insane difference. And seeing it from like an outside into a dashboard, you wouldn't be able to tell what's being done different. But then you see a massive difference because who you're talking to is so qualified.
Sure, but you can't do detailed marketing like that on Facebook anymore.
You wouldn't do it on Facebook. You'd have to build that list with outside resources, and you'd upload it to Facebook.
Right. Oh, you're talking about using a custom list and upload it to Facebook. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. If it's something that we've seen that makes a huge difference.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do. I know we're
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not, we don't really offer it as a service for, doing Facebook ads, but like sometimes, we have certain clients that don't mind us like looking into like campaigns they're running, or they just want some tips with how they're doing it. We're mainly doing SEO. Just now we have like a beta, product we're getting into, and it's not Facebook ads. It's just like a omnipresent retargeting campaign for sites that are already getting